and welcome to my channel. I'm losing weight using the Slimming World plan. My name's Shell and I think this is my 5th week now. And I'm so pleased to be still here, still doing videos, because I have to say that often by week 5 I've given up. And that's usually because I'm not consistent. And I think the one thing that normally throws me off is thinking that I deserve a treat when I get home from group. And that's usually, for me, I say, well, I'm going to have a piece of toast and leave it at that. Just one piece of toast off plan and that'll be it. I'm not going to have a cheat day or anything like that. And it's often led to my downfall. And I usually fall into the trap by now where I'm very hungry by the time I get home from group, because I've had to be very careful for a couple of days to get a loss. And this begins to spiral. And each week it gets worse. Each week I'm more hungry by the time I get home from class. So the first couple of weeks I might eat what I want for that day, and then it tends to go for 2 days. And then I'm having to spend 2 or 3 days at the end of the week virtually not eating any sins or anything to try and make up that loss. And there comes a point, usually around about weeks 5, 6, 7, where it just breaks. It gets to the point where I haven't eaten anything much for about 4 days, and so the cravings when I get home from group are so enormous that I can't stop eating for 3 or 4 days, and then I don't have time to catch up. And this is the pattern that I always seem to fall into. So I'm so grateful to be here now on week 5, and the streak that I started on day 1 is still going strong. I think today is day 38, and this is unheard of for me, pretty much. I don't think I've ever done that before, which you would think I would have done considering I started this diet in 1989. But no, here I am for the first time, and the streak is still feeling strong. I don't have any new foods to show you this week because we haven't eaten anything different. We've eaten the same foods. I have the oat pantry porridge for breakfast with raspberries and an apple. For dinner time I usually have something either free or with 1 sin, and it's often salad with potatoes and beans on, or it might be soup. I'm quite a fan of making a big vat of soup. This week I made cauliflower. I just got a bag of frozen cauliflower out of the freezer, one of those big, I think a kilo, I don't know what they're, the great big ones anyway. I just emptied it into the pan with a couple of onions, some garlic, some Vicon. If you haven't tried Vicon before, it is lovely. It's a bit like Marmite, but it's thinner and grainier, so possibly if you like your Marmite or Bovril or whatever to spread on toast, it's not quite got that silky feel. It's a bit more watery, grainy. But to put in a soup, it's gorgeous, and it just gives it a different taste. If you haven't tried it, it is free. I would highly recommend it. So with the cauliflower, the Vicon, the onions and the garlic, and just put it all in the pan. And I did put some I had some fresh coriander, so I put that in as well. And I just boiled it all up, and then I blitzed it with the wand blender until it was a liquid pretty much, no lumps in it left. And I did make it quite thick because I can use it in lots of different ways over the week. I can either thin it out and have it with soup, or I can use it as a sauce. I can add some nutritional yeast to it, and that turns it into a creamy sauce because it's very thick to have on vegetables. Or sometimes at dinner time, twice this week, I've just put corn chunks in a microwavable cup, warmed those up, poured this soupy thick stuff over the top, and heated it all up, and had that for dinner. Perhaps with a pita bread on the side, or sometimes I just had some new potatoes left over and just dumped those in as well. And it's really filling. So I had that for dinner. And then for tea, we had shepherd's pie a couple of times this week, which I made free. I did cook it up last week, and I made lots and lots of the base of the shepherd's pie, which I made free from lentils and vegetables. So I had those in the freezer, just easy to pull out, put some mashed potato on top, put cheese on my partner's portion and into the oven. Very quick meals. And we've had a lot of salad this week because the weather's been nice. And it's been a really, really good on-plan week, because I'm aware of how fast things can spiral out of control. And I think all of us that are doing these plans or doing any plan at all, there are times where you feel like you would never stop doing it. You would never break your plan. You feel so in control, which is how I feel at the minute. And I think it's partly this streak that's given me a buzz, because I think about this streak quite a lot and that I don't want to break it. And I think about it when I get in bed, of how glad I am that I've got through another day and I'm still on plan. I watched a video this morning that shocked me to the core, really. It's a man called Chuck Carroll who he does the podcast for a plant-based, I think it's probably the biggest and in my opinion the best plant-based podcast available, called the Physicians Committee Exam Room. And this has been going for a long time, many years, as many years as I can remember, 10 years perhaps. And he's always fronted it and done all the interviews, and he's a fantastic bloke. Now, he lost 300 pounds, or close to 300 pounds, all that time ago. He did have his stomach reduced, he said, to the size of his thumb, to get his weight loss started, because he had a very bad food addiction problem. And he shed the 300 pounds, and I think he became plant-based after that, for health reasons. And he has been on my podcast player all these years, and he does fantastic interviews. And up until today, I've always thought that he was rock solid. But there's always that ability for things to go wrong. And he did describe today lots of things that have gone wrong in his life and the stress that he's been under. And it must be unimaginable stress. His name is the weight loss champion, and he does do lots of talks, and I think his thing is that he takes his old pants round, and often two people will climb into his pants. So he's got a lot of pressure, there must be, to do that and to keep going. But recently things haven't been going as well for him, and I hadn't noticed, but he has been putting on weight. And I didn't realise, because I suppose because I am blind, I haven't noticed any difference. But apparently people have been noticing it, and they've been putting in the comments below his videos what's happening. We can see you putting weight on, what's going wrong. And in his video today he did explain that he'd been ill and under a lot of stress, and he has gone away now to try and get everything back on track. But it was so shocking to me to hear somebody who seemed to have had it all sorted out, and sorted out for over a decade possibly, to be struggling again. And so I think really we've always got to be so careful thinking that you've got it. And I do fall into this trap as well. I do think, I'm alright now, I've sorted it out. It's been a few weeks. I've got this. I can handle, going off plan for a day, but I've begun to realise now that I can't. So I have had terrible binge problems in the past, really bad. It's not just a case of putting weight on a little bit here, there, and having extra cake. And I can be going along 100% certain that I'll be doing this plan for the rest of my life, and within 5 minutes I can go off track. And if I do go off track like that, I can eat thousands of calories in 15 minutes, and then things start to spiral. So I've always got to be on my guard. It always starts for me. I did have it once a couple of weeks ago, and I just went into the freezer for something. I was quite happy. I wasn't even thinking about dieting or plans or anything. I was just quite happily going into the freezer to get something out. And it's almost like an electric shock, and I think it must be a sudden pump of adrenaline around the body. It almost was like I put my hand on the bread and it was like an electric shock went through me, and it's at that point where I know within a split second I can just grab things and just defrost them and start eating and eating and eating, and I won't be able to stop until about 15 minutes later. I'll just be so stuffed that I can't move. It's frightening to think that that can happen, but I am aware of it, and when it happened to me this time, I shut the freezer door, I didn't even get things out, and I went out into the garden and messed about with the plant that we've got and a few other bits and pieces and waited for it to go. But I was aware that it was there, and so now to get to this 5th week, I am so proud of myself really, because it has been a difficult week. I had difficulty with my parents. They're not very well at the minute and they are struggling, and it's been very hard for everybody. But again, I've got through that. So I went to group on Tuesday and it was a lovely group, and this week I lost 2 pounds. I was absolutely over the moon. I didn't think I would lose that much, and I doubt I'll lose much this week, possibly, having such a big loss this week. But that was 2 pounds, and it also got me, which I've got here to show you, my stone award. Yeah, my 1 stone award. I started at 11 stones 9.5, and now I am 10 stone 9. And in 1 pound, I will have lost 3 stones from my heaviest weight ever, which was in lockdown. I reached 13 stone 8. So 1 more pound and I'll be 3 stones lighter than my heaviest weight, and that'll be such an achievement. I'll be so pleased to get there. I also got this week another certificate and a sticker. Oh, sticker's falling off. Slimmer of the week. Yes, Slimmer of the week. I don't think you'll see another one of these. I was very lucky to get Slimmer of the week. 2 pounds would not normally get you a Slimmer of the week in my class. We've got some big losers there. I was just lucky that the week before, a lot of those had either been on holiday so they weren't in group, or they gained because it was the Easter weekend, and a lot of people had had a little gain over the Easter weekend. So because of that, I was lucky enough to get Slimmer of the Week, but I don't think you'll ever see one of these again for me, because I'm never going to lose more than 2 pounds in a week, I don't think. And those other people there, we've got quite a few blokes in our class as well, and they tend to lose 4 or 5 pounds a week. So that was that. Although I've got no new food to show you, I have decided to start using some weights. I do walk on my treadmill every day for about an hour, but I believe that once you've gone through the menopause, you should start doing some weight-bearing exercises. So I've bought a few new things. I've bought this here, which is a kettlebell. For anybody like me that can't see, it's a big football, well, like a child's football size. I believe it's yellow. I think Auntie said it was yellow. Ball at the bottom, and then it's got a big handle at the top which is wide enough so you can grip with 2 hands. This one is 4 kilos and it's by I think it's PROIRON. I'll put the link there. And why I bought this one is because, can you hear it? I don't know if you can hear that. It's full of iron sand. It's got a leathery feel, although it's plastic, it's got like a leathery feel, but it is full of iron sand. So if I was to swing it in here and hit the piano with it, rather than the cast iron ones would take a chunk out of the piano, this one would just make a thud. And also I'm not likely to damage myself with it if I drop it on me drop it on my head as much. Now, I haven't bought this to go mad with it. Did I say it was 4 kilos? They had them up to 20 kilos if that's where you want to go, but I started with the lightest one, which is 4 kilos. And I bought it when we're watching telly at night. Partly, I do start to fall asleep. I'm an early riser. I'm always awake by 6, 7 in the morning. So by 10, 11 o'clock at night, when Andy and I are watching our programmes, I do struggle to stay awake. I used to do crafts, but I've got very bad arthritis in my hands now, so I can't do them. So at night, whilst we're watching the telly, I'm just sitting, lifting this up and down, or side to side, or I've been putting it on my ankles and then lifting my feet up with it on my ankles, and it's enough for me. It's just it's not so heavy that I'm really struggling to lift it, but it's a good weight. So maybe one day, if I get used to it, I'll get the bigger one, but for now this is, and it's lovely, it feels really nice. I'll put the link below in case you're interested in doing some body magic. The other thing I got, I've had this one for years. They are ankle weights, like a strap that goes around your ankle with Velcro on. So you wrap it around your wrist or your ankle, and then you do the Velcro. Now I've had this one for quite a lot of years, and it's good, but it's filled with sand. It's quite bulky, and when you've got it on, it tends to sort of flop up and down, and it is quite cumbersome. And when you've got two strapped on your ankles, if you're doing exercises, they do tend to bump against each other. So I saw these other ones. They haven't actually got a make on these other ones. I'll put the link below. They come in a nice little bag, and there are two, obviously. And these ones, if you can see, they are, I'll try and describe them for anybody that can't see them. They're a strap that is as wide as, say, if you put your finger on it, it's as wide as your finger is long. And then there are little weights. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 little weights. They're like, say like the proportion of crab sticks. Imagine if you got crab sticks and then put a slit down the middle of them and then threaded them onto this piece of elastic, this strap, elasticated strap. So it's like a strap with, if you can imagine, it's got 8 crab sticks threaded on, which are weighted. It's not enormously heavy, but you can get more weights to go on to make it heavier, or you could strap 2 on. But this one, because of the way it's made, it doesn't jostle around on your ankle when you're doing your exercises. It doesn't move. It's very, very thin, so it doesn't bulk out on your legs, and it's really comfy. You barely know you've got it on, apart from obviously that your legs are heavier. But you barely know you've got it on. If you're looking for anything like this to do your ankle straps, and I tend to use these, instead of using dumbbells, I use these on my arms because I'm less likely to smack things with them. It just is, I think it's a safer option, especially if you can't see what you're doing. So they're the things that I bought new this week, and I've really enjoyed using both of those items. Getting in some body magic, doing some weights, nothing too drastic, nothing too heavy, and it has worked for me. And it's really nice now getting into the summer to be able to go outside as well and do a little bit of exercise in the garden. I did buy a skipping rope, but unfortunately my washing lines are getting in the way, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to take the washing lines down, or I might have to sort something out this summer to be able to do some skipping, although that was quite traumatic. I was a bit big when I bought the rope last year, so perhaps it might be a bit easier now. But I found as I was leaping up and down, I don't know if anybody else who's overweight finds this, but I found that it's almost like the fat on my body is like a whole other suit. And I felt like although my bones were jumping up and down, this fat suit was leaping up and down independently outside the rest of my bones. It was very uncomfortable, but anyway, I'm hoping I'm a bit lighter now, so it might not be as traumatic. So that's what I've been up to this week. What's everybody else been up to? I hope you've had a good time. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I'm planning again. I'm going to go for the same as I did at Easter. I planned Easter absolutely down to the last thing I was going to eat, and it worked beautifully, and I loved Easter this year. Had a fantastic time. So the birthday is going to be the same thing. Every year, if you watch my videos, I go totally lose it on my birthday weekend, and it's usually weeks if ever I come back. But not this year. I've got it all planned out. I bought Slimming World chips a while ago, and we've not had them. I think it must be about 6 weeks they've been in the freezer. So I've decided that tomorrow night we're going to have chips, sausage, chips and beans. It'll be a free meal, but it will feel like a treat. And then tomorrow night I've got I bought us a half bottle of Prosecco. I only bought half a bottle, so I won't be tempted to have more. So I'll be having a quarter of a bottle of Prosecco tomorrow night, which I think I worked out is about 7.5 sins. Which still leaves sins for trying out I've been feeling my presence, and there are at least 2 boxes of chocolates there, so perhaps there'll be enough sins left over to have one of those chocolates. We'll have to see. If not, then I won't be having them. I'll have them Saturday night. But it's all carefully planned out, and it's going to be a lovely weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not the only one on our Slimming World YouTube family having a birthday this week. I know Al from Al Geeky Slimmer has his birthday this week, and also Nikki is having her birthday, which I think is tomorrow. So happy birthday to both of you. I hope you have a lovely time, and that you do something really special. I don't have anything else, so I hope you have a lovely week. Let me know below how you're getting on. Everyone seems to be doing quite well at the minute. Maybe it's the summer making us feel that we want to get ready to get on our nice clothes and go out. So let me know how you've done. I really, really appreciate you supporting me, and I really appreciate you coming on and telling me how you're doing, especially if you haven't got a vlog of your own and it's the only way we can find out how you're doing. So let me know. Have a lovely week. I'll see you next week, and I hope you'll see less of me. Take care.